Interesting question. If all of your prayers were answered, would the world be at a better place, or would your world be a better place? And that is an interesting question because quite often we have selfish goals and we aren't really thinking about how we can serve better or how we can make the world a better place. We're just thinking of ourselves. And I'm reminded of a scripture verse that says, when you ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. That's James 4:3. And it's true, though. We sometimes want things that will make us look good. We want more money. We want more recognition, something like that. We want these selfish things. And those are not going to actually give us joy in the end. Selfishness for its own sake is an empty pursuit. What really matters is when we say, I want to serve. I want to be part of something greater than myself. I want to be able to have a legacy that will outlast me. I want to empower others to have a good experience too, maybe even a better experience than I was able to have. It's when we choose to be a lighthouse, when we choose to improve our experience, not just so that we can have a better experience for our own sake only, but so that we can share it with others, so that we can enrich those around us. That's when we stand to truly gain from our endeavors. And we will benefit from that rising tide too. When you help others, you wind up helping yourself, because the light you shine is also a light which you can benefit from. But it's nice to know that you're doing things that will be helpful to other people, and it's meaningful, especially as you go through your life and you start to realize you can't take it with you when you go. And then it starts to be meaningful to be able to say, could I maybe help somebody who's got their whole journey ahead of them, not to make mistakes that I made? Could I maybe find a way to be a lighthouse, to be a guide, to be wise counsel for someone? And those are the things that really matter. I think about selfish people, the kind of people who maybe they don't try to do harm to others, but they never really think of others. They have a tendency to always look at things through the lens of how it's going to get them ahead, not really genuinely asking how they can serve. Even if they do serve, it's always from the perspective of what they're going to get out of it. It's always about whether they're going to be seen of others, whether they're going to be noticed. It's this sort of disingenuous, let me help others so that others will see me helping others. It's like giving $5 to a panhandler because you want all the other cars behind you to look and see that you're a charitable person. That kind of stuff doesn't really help. But when somebody just of their own free will stands to really gain nothing by helping someone else, they invest kindly, patiently in the welfare of someone, not because they're going to get anything out of it, but just because it's an opportunity for them to be part of something greater than self. that is meaningful. That's remembered. That's enduring. And I think that's what life's all about. It's about those moments when there is nothing for you to gain by giving, and yet you do give, and giving is joy because it, just feels effortless. That's what really matters. So we should always ask ourselves whether the things that we're spending our time pursuing are there because we just want to get ahead, or if our goals are there because we want to help others. And if all of our life was spent trying to serve others, trying to be part of something greater than ourselves, loving others, then I guess we wouldn't really ever work a day in our life. It's been said, if you spend all of your time doing things that you love, then you will never work a day in your life. And that's my goal. It's sometimes easier said than done, but my goal is to just live my life to enjoy the experience and to do good for others, and to learn how to let go of all of the things that are toxic, all of the things that would be trying to get myself ahead at the expense of someone else. All of the things that are maybe an ulterior motive, the things where maybe you're doing the right things, but you're not doing them for the right reasons. It's, all of the stuff that winds up being, well, I guess falling short of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's easy to identify these things when you're looking at other people. It's maybe a little harder to identify them when you're looking at yourself. It's kind of crazy how we tend to so readily make excuses for ourselves, and we're so quick to judge others. But we've all seen what it's like to be marginalized. We all know what it feels like to be invisible sometimes. We all know what it is like to be frustrated or hurt or disappointed by the fakeness and the disingenuousness of people. So we should distance ourselves from the folks who aren't really doing good in our life. That's true. We should be willing to walk away from things that aren't edifying or uplifting or positive. But we should also make a point to fight evil in the world, not by complaining about it or by judging people who fall short in one way or another, but rather to do good in the world by forgiving people who are flawed for their transgressions, to love them anyway, and then to learn how to do good in the lives of others, to ask ourselves how we can find a way to serve without putting ourselves first. And make that our ethos. It's not about finding a way to make everyone else do what's right. It's about us choosing to do what's right. It's choosing to be a light to others when you could be bitter and resentful. It's choosing not to gossip about others when you could choose that easy path. It's making a point to be a resource for others when you could close yourself off and say, it's not really my problem. It's amazing how meaningful it can be when somebody just makes your problem their problem, even though they really don't have to. And those are the things you remember. You'll remember it for the rest of your life when someone takes time and they put effort into helping you. Not just to do no harm, but they actually go out of their way to go above and beyond, to go out of their way to sacrifice something of themselves to try to improve your quality of life, your experience. I think a lot of times people will say, well, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not harming anyone. I'm not standing in the way of anyone. But the question is, are you actually doing good for others? Like, are you helping people? Are you serving others? Or are you just, not deliberately harming them and then acting like if you don't harm people, that is itself virtue? It's not enough to just not do harm to other people. You've got to try to put yourself in the shoes of other people. You've got to try to understand them, try to find a way to empathize, a way to serve them, even when they are in a lower station than yourself. The more I think about life and all of the things that I want to work on, the more I realize it's so important to walk away from the toxic behaviors that you allow to make their way into your life. And, I've talked about how I have this intention of moving to a new place and finding a new job and kind of starting over and doing a total reset in my life. And I am excited about that, and naturally a little bit probably frightened to a degree, just uncertainty with change. But a big part of the why, a big part of what matters to me in all of this is realizing that I need to use this opportunity to reset not just my environment, but to also find a way to embrace kindness, to embrace empathy, to embrace professionalism and decency, and all of those things that maybe in my life, in my career, in my relationships, I felt were lacking. All the things that I maybe have been frustrated because other people haven't been. I have to learn how to make sure that I am not replicating those bad habits in a new environment. And I think when you reset your environment, it's always a great opportunity to rebrand yourself and to do things differently than you have in the past. But it's also important to be hyper aware of your own potential to repeat bad habits, because a new environment does not change anything if you repeat the same cycle of poor behaviors or bad decisions that have caused negative things for you or those in your life in the past. It's good to start a new chapter, but not if you repeat the same vices as you practiced before. And I think about things like New Year's resolutions where people say, well, I'm going to, start going to the gym every day starting on the 1st. Well, if you're planning on starting on the 1st of the month in the new year, you're probably not going to make it through the year because you think that something's magically going to be different just because the calendar has flipped over to January. The reality is it hasn't. And if it's not important enough for you to start it now and you're going to wait until the beginning of the year, well, it probably isn't really that important to you anyway. The things that really matter, you're willing to start practicing those things right away, today. No compromises, no delays. And that can be itself something that forces us out of our comfort zone, because when we're around people who are familiar and we're in familiar environments and all of that, it's really easy to just, allow those old habit patterns to continue a little longer. And that's been something on my mind to start every day saying, I'm going to be very mindful to work to be the kind of person that I want to be. Not just in the future, not in a hypothetical situation when my environment is different, but today, when it's the same old tired routine, it's the same old flawed people, it's all of the normal temptations, but I'm going to make today a new day and focus on service and kindness and love and forgiveness instead of all of those ego-driven things that have a tendency to seep in. So the truth is, if you are tempted to say something, you probably shouldn't say it. And if you are tempted not to say anything, you probably should. Same thing with actions. If you're tempted to do something, you probably should exercise restraint. And if there's a part of you that's a little bit afraid of doing something, it probably is actually not a terrible idea to go ahead and do it despite your fear and anxiety. The things that come naturally are usually the things that we shouldn't do, and the things that frighten us a little bit are quite often the things that will yield positive results in our life if we see them through. If we live our lives with the intention of serving others, however, I don't think there's too much bad that can come of it. Because, after all, if you truly desire to do good, what evil can come of that? It's when we want good things, but we are not doing them from the goodness of our heart. That's when it can backfire on us. Life is filled with opportunities to do good and to experience good in the world, and I think it's important to see the world as a friendly place, see the universe as a friendly place. Don't look at life as if it's always through a glass half empty. Don't be the person who's always coming up with reasons why there isn't any goodness in the world. Doesn't mean there's not a lot of people who are in it for themselves and all of that stuff. And totally, it's important to not spend your time casting pearls before swine, or always putting effort into things that don't bear good fruit. And I've made a lot of videos and had conversations about that in the past, and I hold to that. Life should be something where if the relationship doesn't do good, and you can't count on people and things like that, you don't spend a bunch of time expecting that if you stick around longer, people are going to be better or change their nature or something like that. But you also want to get up every day with the notion that the world is not a place where all the cards are stacked against you and you're just constantly existing in a state of cynicism and frustration and pessimism toward everything. and everyone. And I think it's a lot easier to have a positive attitude about life when you put yourself in the shoes of others and realize even if people do things that are not maybe loving or not really positive, usually it's not that they're trying to make your life bad. It's not that they're trying to make you suffer or anything like that. It's just people being people trying to make their way in the world. And so even if they do things that are not particularly loving, that doesn't mean that they are not deserving of empathy and forgiveness. And the fact that you empathize and forgive people doesn't mean that you should allow them to actively waste your time or do harm in your life. So that's kind of the duality of it all, that life can be filled with things that are unfortunate and imperfect, and we can try to protect ourselves from those things, and we can also forgive the people who do wrong. We can try to protect ourselves from the evils of others, and we can also acknowledge that we are not above the risk of being perhaps a bit evil ourselves. And so we can perhaps try to distance ourselves from the people who do harm in our lives, but we can also be cautious and use them as a tale for our own selves to study and make a point to say, when I see someone else do something that I don't like, I'm going to remind myself that I'm capable of doing the same sort of thing. And so I'm going to check myself. I'm going to make sure that I learn from the mistakes of others instead of just judging others for their flaws. As always, try to be at peace, try to be happy, try not to worry about the past or the future. Just be loving and kind and do all the things you do with the right motives in the moment that you have. After all we really have is the time right now that we have been given. So let us try to be honorable and to be good stewards of that time that we have. Good luck on your adventure. As always, until next time, thanks so much for watching.